Good evening, everybody, and welcome to week 5. This is my response to Module 5, Discussion 2 for Chapter 5. I will be responding to questions 1, 3, and 4. Excuse me. All right. So for question 1, what is the relationship between words and systems? It's argued by text. What do they do? What purposes do they serve? How do words and symbols relate to meaning? Use examples from the text and from your own personal experience and from the answer and cite your response. Um, Unfortunately, I'll have to go through and cite these in response to this because I did not find them or didn't put them in my response to the rope. So my answer is words and symbols relate to the meaning, in the sense that the receiver must have some kind of ground level understanding for what you are referring to. In the text, the example of a gift being delivered is given. In my case, it would be how a text being sent to someone has been received or understood by them. Messages such as these words and symbols, for instance, a period in the text. Say you replied with just K. That's definitely going to be taken as an issue to most people. So, with that being the case, just watching how you are delivering a message to someone is my overall understanding of how words and symbols relate to meaning. Question 2 is using the text as your primary resource. Explain semantic triangle. Then use this concept to explain something in your life that fits this model. The semantic triangle refers to how a word relates to a thought of something you are familiar with, and the meaning of that word is applied to a subject or object. The text gives the example of the word moko, which in Japanese language is interpreted as something cool, but in Spanish means booger. I'm quite familiar with that. My girlfriend says this a lot to my daughters. And then my own personal experiences. So this is from my high school days. We had just came back from Mississippi. We were relocated due to Hurricane Katrina. And when we came back, my brother was talking to a classmate. And in Mississippi, if you tell somebody you're going to murk them, that means to push their forehead. Well, here that means you're going to kill them. So him telling this girl, I'm going to murk you, really caused an issue, and she took offense to that, and immediately it was, oh, I'll get my brothers, we'll fight, it's just, wherever you're from, you're going to imagine what you're used to when you hear a word, and that story sticks out to me because it was the first example from how different the talk is here than it is down in Mississippi. And for the last question, discuss the most important ideas the text presents as barriers to communication. Then discuss how these barriers have impacted you personally, as well as people in your life. Be specific with types of barriers and how they work using the text, but please do not disclose the names of people, of course. In my opinion, almost all of the examples of barrier of communication are important. I would say that if we want to be able to communicate more effectively, we need to be more aware of all of the barriers that may be in place when we are trying to communicate. But just for the sake of the answer, I'll choose 3. I chose jargon, cliches, and slang. Jargon, I come across this quite frequently, since I work in a field where we have to shorthand a lot of information. We have to shorthand as far as instead of typing out a long client's name, we shorthand. And a lot of people may not be aware of what client or what we're speaking about. So it always ends up in, oh, I'm not sure what you mean. And then we have to restart the conversation pretty much. Next was cliches. Sorry. Cliches is, I agree with the text. They do come across as boring. Kind of seems like you're just trying to end the conversation. I deal with this with the older generation in my family. And it's not typically they want to end the conversation so much as they're old and don't remember what they're saying. So they will often just refer to a cliche saying that they are familiar with to pretty much end whatever they're talking about. And then the last of the three, which I think is probably well, as far as in my opinion and my circumstance, the most problematic barrier that I have occurred is slang. I speak very differently when it comes to for now, I can tell you now, if you knew me, this is not how I speak. I'm usually boisterous, I'm loud, I'm not as calm and reserved as I am when doing something like presenting a video or work, or whatever the case may be. And I'm usually saying stuff that nobody would usually understand because I'm just that kind of goof who makes up words just to make them work, make them up. My girlfriend makes fun of me all the time because she's Cuban and she speaks Spanish, and I always tell her, oye, and she's like, that's not a word. I'm like, oh, I just made it up. It's just random stuff, but nobody else would know what that means besides her. So, slang is really more reserved for your probably immediate group, probably current age group or around that age group, something along those lines. And yeah, that's it.